friends! Okay, so we are back in front of my Christmas tree, and I want to talk to you guys today about fictional story retellings. So, I know this was a Top 5 Wednesday topic, and originally I was going to upload this video on Wednesday. However, my phone deleted it because it ran out of storage, and then I didn't have time to record it again. But I really thought this was a cool topic to kind of do, so I'm just going to do my own Top 5 story retellings and upload it today. A lot of times when people talk about fairy tales that have been retold, or just stories in general that have been retold, there's not a lot of variance, and I wanted to bring attention to books that are still retellings of fairy tales, but also have like the aspect of diversity in them. So the first book that I want to talk about on this list is called Bound, and it's written by Donna Jo Napoli. Now, Bound is a retelling of the classic Cinderella fairy tale, and the main character in this book is called Zing Zing. Now, Zing Zing is in charge of taking care of her stepmother and her stepmother's daughter after her father passes away. This book is set in ancient China, where the binding of feet is still like a common practice, and so her main chore is to take care of her stepsister Wei Ping, as her stepsister is the one whose feet are currently bound, and she's basically treated as a servant. What I like about this book is that it's set in ancient China, and so you get a lot of the culture and the history, but it takes the whole Cinderella story and spins it in a new way. It doesn't feel like the author's just checking off steps, it's just checking off things to bring into the story so that people know that this is a China. It feels like the culture that is brought into the book is actually very important, and it's very central in the characters' lives. Love how they are able to make this a Cinderella story and also feel so original and new at the same time. So the second book that I want to talk about today is not technically a fairy tale retelling, but it is still a really cool retelling of a story that we all know. It is called Romeo and Juliet, and it's written by Sharon Draper, and this is a retelling of the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. Instead of the family feud of the Capulets and the Montagues, it is more of like a racial tension between Romeo and Julio and kind of like the gangs in the general city that they live in. It deals with a lot of stereotypes and just kind of racial tensions that are present. Really, it was able to subtly bring those issues to the forefront of the plot. I think it's a really good retelling. I love how it's very modern. It brings in, chat rooms, and it's modern as in like maybe 2000 or like 2000s, early 2000s modern, because it still kind of talks about cell phones being like these kind of rare things, but I thought it was really cool. I think it's a really good book, and I loved that retelling of Romeo and Juliet because I just thought it was a really cool way to do it. And while it is still a tragedy, it's more of a modern tragedy. So I just think it's a really good book. I've read it so many times in middle school, I kind of lost track, but I think it's really cool. It deals with a lot of the ideas of soulmates and kind of soulmates in a modern world. So I think it's really good. So I would definitely check that out. So the third book on my list is The Looking Glass Wars, and this is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. All of you know I am a huge fan of Alice in Wonderland. I am such a huge fan. It is so hard for me to read books that are kind of retellings of Alice in Wonderland without critiquing them super harshly. But when I first read this book, I didn't like it. I couldn't even make it past the first 10 pages, and I think it was just because it wasn't what I expected. It took me like at least a year or two to go back and try and read it, and I was like, okay, you know what? I've had this book. I want to read it because I love Alice in Wonderland, and I want to try and get into this book. So I went back with a whole like fresh perspective, and I thought that it was so good. I thought it was such a good book because it's not your typical retelling of Alice in Wonderland. It very much brings in the world of Wonderland, brings in like modern technology but in a magical world, and I think that the story is really well told. I really like the new spin that they put on the Red Queen, so I thought that that was really good, and it was just a very different kind of way to retell Alice in Wonderland. That is my next book that I am saying you guys should read because it's a really good and like not very well known about retelling of an Alice in Wonderland story. The next book on my list is one that we all know. It's one that I see on BookTube, but it's not one that it's the one that I feel like deserves more credit. I just love talking about it, and I want to see more people talking about it, and it is Wicked. I love the idea of characters that we think of as evil not being as bad as we think they are, and just reading the story from their perspective, and I just love that whole thing. I loved the whole world in Wicked. I thought it was just so good, and I haven't seen the play, but I really want to, so I'm not going to say too much on this book because it is pretty well known, but I just want to address it and say that it is one of my favorite retellings. And finally, my last book that I want to talk about is The Wrath and the Dawn. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this book. It was one that came out recently and just kind of took over BookTube again, and this is a retelling of the 1001 Arabian Nights. I think this book is really cool because honestly I love 1001 Arabian Nights, so I was really excited to read this book, and I'm only halfway through it, but I highly recommend it for anyone who kind of just wants a diverse, different kind of fairy tale. I think that so far it's really well written, and I will definitely probably upload a book talk about it, but that is the end of my list. That is the last book on my list that I'm highly recommending as a fairy tale retelling. So So that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really wanted to upload it on the top 5 Wednesday that it originally came out, but I just did not have time. It is finals week, so everything gets all super crazy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of the books that I mentioned, or if you guys have read any of them and you have your own opinion on them. But that is all that I have for you guys today, and I will talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.